you doing?
Please give it up for the very funny Max and Grandad!
We are so excited to be here on Crackerjack!
Great. No, fantastic. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That was better, really.
Please welcome to the stage, Max Fulham.
Welcome to Talking It Out. I'm Jonathan Geffner, and my special guest today is Max Fulham, the extraordinary young British ventriloquist who you just saw in that little demo reel. Max, thank you and welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah, well, you really are, as I said, an extraordinary ventriloquist. Forgetting young or not, you're one of the most talented and skilled already ventriloquists in the world, forgetting age.
That's very kind. That's very kind.
Yes, well, it's very true. As people can get a glimpse of that from the demo reel and get a better glimpse if they actually see one of your shows or more extended videos. So, Max, you are in England. You grew up in England. I think you told me Farnham. Is that?
Yes, that's exactly where. Yeah, so I live in Farnham at the moment, which is about an hour outside of London. But I grew up in Essex, and also I did a bit of my childhood in Scotland as well. I never got the accent, but yeah, a lot of my childhood was spent in Scotland.
Edinburgh or Glasgow or something?
Just outside Edinburgh, yeah.
That's a beautiful city. I've been there twice and love Edinburgh. And Farnham, I have a personal connection. I mentioned once because I shot a film back in 2005, a short film, Oxford Park, my first Trillo Suede film that I actually did. So I was there for 3 days. Anyway, how did you become a ventriloquist? How did the journey start?
Well, it started, I feel like a lot of ventriloquists started when they were very young, and I'm the same as that. I mean, I've always loved puppets. Puppets were a very cool thing for me. I really enjoyed them as a kid, and then my parents bought me my own puppet for Christmas one year. Obviously, they were thinking like, oh, what a nice gift. They weren't thinking, he must do a career from this. It wasn't that sort of thing. And so it went from there, really. And I'm of a sort of, I suppose, the internet generation where it wasn't some incredible story where I can say, I saw so and so at the Theatre Royal in blah blah blah. It was very much, I saw a ventriloquist on YouTube and I thought I'll give it a go. And I think when you're young, you don't have those inhibitions that are going to stop you from trying something. And massively benefited from that. Started talking to myself, practicing in front of the mirror, and over the next few years, I suppose, started to develop the skill. So that was my sort of I'd say.
And are there any other show business people in your family? Anybody who
No,
does
I
anything
come
like this?
from normal. I come from normal people,
Right,
which
so
is strange.
the very first abnormal one in your family.
I'm the odd one out, and I'm quite grateful for that, really, because I think it gives me a different perspective on the industry as well, and also an element of grounding as well, because the whole industry can be a bit all over the shop and a bit overwhelming at times, and I think it's good that I come from not that, so I can quite easily escape and sort of get back to reality, I suppose, as well.
How old are you? I think you're young enough. You probably don't mind my asking you.
I'm 23.
Okay, so yes, still very young man. And how did your parents and the rest of your family and friends react to your becoming a ventriloquist?
Well, I think they were. I mean, and I'm very lucky to have an incredibly supportive family, and my friends are incredibly supportive as well. I think when you're starting off, it's a fun little hobby, and so they were amused by that. I'd always loved entertaining, as I was always putting on shows as a kid, whether that was ventriloquism, magic, dancing, singing, all of that stuff. Yeah, they've been supportive from the start, and I think it was an interesting transition going from hobby into job, where it all became a bit real. And there were discussions about going full time and things like that, because that is a bit of there is an element of risk. Of course there is, because you're going full time self-employed.
When did you start? When did you go full time? Are you full time?
So, British schooling system, English schooling system rather. You've got the secondary school and then sixth form, which is 2 years on the end, which is just before university, college, essentially. And people take gap years, which is once you finish your secondary education, you go off for a year, do whatever you want. Some people go traveling, some people work, people do whatever they want with their gap year. And I thought, I think it would be wise for me to take a gap year to try things out full time. And it was getting to that point where I was getting enough bookings that it felt like sixth form college was starting to get in the way of my performing. And I was like, well, I need to try it without school in the way. I need to try what that would be like. And I was very fortunate that it went very well. I'd met my management by that point, and it went from there. And I ended up cancelling my place at university.
So how many years has that been now that you are full time?
Oh my goodness, that must be 5 years. Yeah, 5 years since I was about 18. Yeah.
What type of shows do you do primarily? What kind of venues?
So at the moment, I am working across multiple venue types and multiple show types as well. So there is sort of a my performances are quite segmented in terms of I work for family audiences in scenarios like holiday parks, which that isn't necessarily a reference that travels over accurately. It's, for example, a place where there are lots of sort of caravans or like lodgings, and there's entertainment in the evening, usually at the coast or stuff like that. And so I'll be part of the evening entertainment on those, which is fantastic, making entertaining families. And helping people enjoy their holidays, which is lovely. And then I'm also doing cruise ship work, so that's sort of it sort of bridges the gap between family and adult, because some of them there are kids on board, some of them are adult only, but you're still working in a clean way. And then also comedy clubs now, so that's just adult audiences, and I can try out different stuff and take things in a different direction there as well. So it's fingers in pies, and I think I like it that way because it's all about variety, and also because the sort of variety entertainment circuit doesn't exist like it did way back in the golden age of variety, especially here in the UK. I think it is, as a variety act, you have to have your fingers in multiple different pies at all times to keep going.
Do you have a preference between strictly adult audiences and family audiences?
It's a really interesting question, because I think for me it really changes fairly frequently, and that can be to do with recent gigs and how receptive audiences have been, how the gigs have gone. It can be to do with if for example I've got a really good bit of family material that I'm really enjoying doing, then that might sway it as well. So at the moment, for example, right now, this moment, and this might have changed by the time this interview goes live on the internet, I'm really enjoying adult audiences, really enjoying the comedy clubs, because it is a much more raw form of comedy, and I am at heart a comedy nerd. And so you're in a room, and that can be a room above a pub, that can be a purpose-built venue, but they can also be non-performance venues with a microphone and a speaker, and you just have to make the people laugh. And I think I really enjoy that. It's raw comedy. There's no theatrics behind it. You are in a room making people laugh, and I think that's quite exciting. And I'm enjoying taking ideas in a slightly different direction. And yeah, it's
Do you
good
feel
fun.
less restricted in an adult venue because you can get raunchy? You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so there's less constraints in terms of keeping things clean. Yeah, it does feel less constrained, definitely. As well as less sort of prim and, I'm not wearing a suit to comedy clubs, whereas in my other shows I'll probably be wearing a suit. So it's slightly more relaxed, slightly more casual, and
informal.
there's more sort of there's that fun to be had, I think.
Who was your first puppet character, and
My
when did you create
first
him?
puppet character, as well as little glove puppets and stuff that I've had over the years, I remember getting a just a little boy character, and then shortly after that, um, there was a program on kids TV over here called The Slammer, which was an amazing program, produced by a man called Steve Ride, who's produced many amazing shows over here for kids over the years. And it was a variety show, essentially, under the guise of something else. It was a variety show for kids, and it was like the exposure that gave to variety arts to children. I mean, it's one of my main inspirations. And I think that's amazing that happened in a time when variety wasn't big. So the concept of the show was it was set in a prison for variety acts. So variety acts all locked up, and then every week there would be a show, live audience of kids. They put on a show, and whoever got voted would be released, essentially. So all, fictitious, and the rest of the show would be sketches and comedy bits, and there'd be a storyline to follow and recurring characters. But essentially, at the end of the show, there'd be a variety show, and one of them would be released as such. And one of the recurring characters was a bad ventriloquist. That was his. He was called Peter Nocio, played by Dave Chapman, who is actually an amazing puppeteer, but had to play a bad ventriloquist. Right. He had a monkey puppet, and it was just an off-the-shelf monkey puppet. But I really liked this monkey, and I used to type the word puppet into Google and just go to every website I could, finding as many pictures and just absorbing as much as I could, because I was a bit puppet obsessed. Yeah. And then one day I find this monkey puppet for sale, because it was just a mass produced. I couldn't believe it was the one off the telly. I couldn't believe my eyes. So I asked for it for Christmas, and my very wonderful parents got me this toy monkey puppet, and it stayed with me. It was one of my favorites. And over the years, that was the first puppet I used in pantomime, which I'm sure we'll come on to, and has now evolved into what is now one of my main characters, Gordon the Monkey, who I've got just...
Yes, let's see Gordon, if you don't mind.
Just here. He's here.
You're right. Who's this?
It's Jonathan.
Is it? Hello.
Hi, Gordon.
We're on a Zoom call doing an interview.
Yeah, so this is Gordon. This is sort of new, modern,
not the original Gordon. You had
this is Mark IV, I think, including the first one. So I love the evolution of a character over years. It's good fun.
It's good fun.
Get back, would you? Get back. I've told you not about that. No. Yeah. So that's.
I'm gonna go now.
You sit down here.
All right. See you tonight.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Gordon.
Thank you for playing along. Yeah. So that's it's amazing how a puppet that I had from near the beginning has now continued on into what I do now.
Your main character, I believe, is Grandpa. Is that what you...
Yeah, so another one of my main characters is my granddad. Yeah.
Would you granddad? Do you? I had the impression maybe he's not your primary. Do you consider him your main character, or just one of several?
By proxy, he is sort of my main character, but that is only because of how much he features in the shows I do at the moment.
Yeah, I had that impression that he's kind of featured.
Yeah, and he's very, very popular, and I really enjoy what I do with him, and I'm very proud of the routines I've developed with him. And I think, yeah, in audiences' eyes, I'd say that is probably who people would say is my main character. But I never would see that as, and whilst the puppet is immensely sentimental to me, and so is the character, I'd never see that as set in stone. I do have to remind myself that I am still sort of, fingers crossed, fairly near the start of things, and I quite like the idea that I maybe haven't struck upon my iconic character yet. Like you have ventriloquists over the years, and they have their character that you would recognize in silhouette, and I'm not sure I've found my character that that you would recognize in a shadow yet.
Do you feel that you may be slighting or hurting the feelings of your other puppets if you proclaim Granddad as your main one? Or is that
yeah, there'd be great offense said. There'd be great offense taken. Yeah.
You're getting rid of me.
That's not what I'm saying. It's not. No.
Oh, I hear Granddad. Would you mind introducing him a bit?
Yeah, of course.
I'm on the floor.
He is on the floor. Sorry.
It's no way to treat the elderly.
I'm sorry. I didn't have space. We just get you up here like that.
Here we are. Marvellous. Splendid. Lovely to be here. Thank you for having it on. He needed something to do.
Very welcome, Granddad. I had that impression somehow that you and Max may have nothing else to do, so you might as well talk to me. I'm glad you're available.
Exactly. We'd love nothing more.
Yeah. Well, Granddad, how has it been? You can just tell me. Max doesn't have to hear. How is it working with Max? How do you enjoy it, or what?
It's a bit of a nightmare, really.
Oh, I was afraid of
that. No,
that.
It's good. He keeps them busy. We're very busy. We go all over the place doing the shows. I enjoy that. A bit of travel. Although I don't enjoy going in the hold. A little joke there. But no, it's good fun. It is good fun on the whole. I like it. I'm glad
you're enjoying it. Granddad, do you have a favorite venue, favorite place that you've performed, or favorite experience?
Oh,
in
well, it's
performing?
great because we do a few cruises, don't we? We do a few cruises, and they're all my age, so that's wonderful. It's nice to hang out with people my own age. That's lovely. And we also, I like the shows for the kids. That's lovely because you know, they're all sat there looking, and I can do jokes that go over their heads to the adults. It's funny, bit
Yeah.
cheek,
Well, as far as
naughty.
the generational the generation gap between the two of you, one thing to look forward to is that Max will eventually catch up with you. So that's right, because
I know,
you
because
won't
I'm
age
not going to
anymore.
change, am I?
That's right. Yes, Max will
No,
just get
I
old.
mean, they're not. They're not do a bit of disintegration of the phone, but that's too technical, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's true. It
Um,
could possibly be repaired as well. So,
yeah,
yeah,
I
you
mean
can.
that's the when you think about it, I think the only ventriloquist who's ever aged up a puppet would be Ray Allen.
Oh,
Because
and briefly, Paul Winchell did that.
really,
Yes, I've seen a clip of him with an aged Jerry Mahoney. I don't think he did
that's
it
cool.
consistently, or I don't know how often he did it, but I know he did it at some point. He introduced an aged Jerry Mahoney.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept because I mean, if you're creating a sort of world with puppet characters in,
That's very detailed, very arty. Good for you. Keep going.
um, then you sort of do have to commit to that and keep that illusion going, I'd say.
Well done.
So, Granddad, you have some associates that some other puppet partners that do you have? Are any of them available here that we could maybe you could introduce them?
Right, I'll go. You show 'em some other stuff, yeah?
I'll show
Yeah, well,
some
that's
other
the idea.
stuff.
I was trying to be like not so obvious that I'm being rude. I didn't want to be rude to you,
You're
Grant. So I
trying
thought
to
maybe,
move me on, Jonathan. I get it.
yeah.
I understand. It's
Well, I
fine.
thought
I
maybe
forgive
you could
you.
introduce who's coming next,
All
Granddad.
right, all right, Jonathan. It's fine. I'll go.
All right, okay.
It's fine.
Show him that one up there.
All right, I'll show him that one up there.
All right, there's your segue. Just look there.
An interesting fact about him, actually, talking about old stuff, is that his glasses were actually my granddad's glasses.
Oh, really?
So
Yes,
there's a genuine connection there, and also my great
yes.
uncle was called Eugene, and that's who he's named after.
Uh,
Which one?
The creepy one.
This one. This is one of my absolute favorite puppets. I managed to get hold of it last year. It's it's
Weird,
it's not weird. It's beautiful.
if you say so.
Shush. It's it's a lovely little vent puppet, and he's got a rather interesting face. But also he is actually a glove puppet, and he's
good.
in sort of what we think is that there's two makers involved here. There is a
Really?
ventriloquist dummy maker, and then also a Punch and Judy man.
So it started
Um,
off as Punch and Judy, I assume, and then somebody
Well, I'm wondering if it's a ventriloquist figure that's been converted into a
oh,
Punch
the
and
other way
Judy.
around.
It's a bit difficult to get the both arms going as well as the mouth.
Oh,
You can try. I can try. Yeah.
I see.
But he can flap about a bit. That's fun. But
Yeah.
I love. I'm a real nerd, so I love the old stuff. And I just think this is a fantastic thing, and still works so well. It's fantastic that even after all this time, that I mean, it just
Yeah.
works so well. It's a dream to use. It's a
You
really,
don't know when
really-
it was built, right? Because you don't really know the history. of it.
I haven't got a date on it. I haven't got a date on it. I was trying to see the newspaper inside the mouth there.
Ah,
But because sometimes you can with these old figures that were paper mache, you can see
right,
the
right.
newspaper inside, and you can get a few words, and sometimes you get a date, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I love having I love having things like this in my sort of collection of puppets, because I think I love the old stuff. I love the slightly weird stuff as well.
Yeah.
And he is
Well,
weird.
It stands to reason that ventriloquists would tend to be nostalgic, right? He's in a kind of a nostalgic art form at this point, at least. It's
Yeah,
at least
definitely.
I've had that feeling, but you have that feeling as well. It seems, yeah.
Definitely, for sure. And I think, and I this probably applies to a lot of art forms, but I think ventriloquism is a good example of it. Would be to say that I think it's really important to look back in order to progress the art form. I think it's really important that we look at what has been done, to build on it and to inspire us, because there's so much stuff out there, and it's such a rich history of entertainment that I think yeah, I think that's really important to acknowledge it. There's been
And
so
it's
many
yeah,
cool things.
it's changing. The venues are changing. Of course, the internet now is our way of life. So the young generation, your generation, is very much, you grew up with the internet, and you are a TikTok celebrity, and you have quite a large following, I think,
Yeah,
at
so
this
that
point. Like so, and also you're on YouTube and, well, the usual things. So what is that like? Do you enjoy doing those little TikTok videos, or is it something that you just feel like you need to do to get out there in the public eye?
it's a bit of both. I think social media has definitely become a part of performers' jobs now. Um, for better or worse, it is the way that people find out about things. It is so useful to have a presence. I think for me, online content really kicked off during lockdown when I was desperate to have the feeling of making people laugh, because I didn't have that, and that, that's both for purposes of entertaining, but also performers are absolute weirdos who sort of are yeah, I feel like I'm almost fueled by that sense of having made people laugh and laughter, and I think it's really important to me. And so I think over lockdown I was like, oh, how do I continue to do this? And so of course you turn to online content. So I put out more than I'd ever put out before because I had nothing
Mm.
else to do. None of us did.
Yeah,
And TikTok especially went a lot. I mean, better than I could have ever imagined. When there's now sort of hundreds of thousands of followers and millions of views and it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And in answer to your question, it's really tricky because, and this wouldn't be me dissing people in other art forms. No, I would never.
Mm.
But for someone like a singer who can just do a different song, a
Mm-hmm.
cover of a different song, it's difficult to do a cover of a different joke because that's really not very moral. It's the burn rate. I think the burn rate is so high
Mm.
um,
Yeah,
for material that
right.
it can be a difficult treadmill to get on top of, especially when you are working with algorithms that are
Yes, yes,
demanding quantity and not necessarily quality. But
right,
I don't want to I don't want to lessen the quality of the videos just to put out more stuff. I
right.
want every video to be something I'm actually happy with, and so it's difficult to, and I'm not putting out loads of stuff at the moment because
Mm-hmm.
I'm now back busy with the live stuff, and it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult to juggle both of those things. I mean, there is the flip side of that when I'm having a happier day, you go, oh, this is really motivating me to come up with some new stuff, and that is of course a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I believe swings and roundabouts would be the right phrase, but I don't know. It's an interesting one. I do enjoy it sometimes.
Well, you do maintain the quality at all times, that I've seen a lot of your work, and but we have a clip here of one of your TikTok videos, so the audience can get an idea if they haven't already become familiar with your work. Here's
Wow.
a Max Fulham TikTok video.
Oh no.
What?
Well, I think they've got us. I can't say that.
And I can't say that either. Red leather, yellow leather. It's really difficult to say,
Especially when it's fast.
Yeah, no way.
What are we going to do?
Well, we could work together.
What?
Well, they say that teamwork makes the dream work.
All right then.
What?
We're going to do it. You take half of it and I'll take half of it. I'll take red leather. You take
What?
red leather.
Steady on.
And you take yellow leather.
We'll give it a go.
All right, here we go. Red leather.
Yellow leather.
Red leather.
Yellow leather.
Red leather. Yellow leather. Red leather. Yellow leather. Red leather. Yellow leather. Red leather. Yellow leather. Red leather. Yellow leather. Red leather.
Yellow leather. Whoa! Suck on that. Whoa! You just got owned.
Yeah, Grandad.
By a puppet. Whoa! Oh, yeah. Well done, us.
So Max Fulham, in one of his many, many wonderful TikTok videos. So you remember doing that one? It wasn't too long ago, I guess.
Yeah, so I think me and a few other ventriloquists, because it's sort of ventriloquial territory, isn't it? The tongue twisters. But it seemed to be what people on TikTok were really, really keen to do. They were keen to comment, and sort of challenge. They wanted challenges, which was a good way to generate videos. You could respond to those comments, and they would generate more. So that was really useful. The other thing I sort of started doing on TikTok was I've done a few sketches that don't have a puppet in. But I'll do one side of the dialogue, and the other character who is off screen will be done with ventriloquism. And one of those sketches did very well, and people hadn't picked up on the fact that it was actually ventriloquism. They just assumed I'd dubbed it over. So it was really interesting to have a sketch take off for its own merit rather than the fact it was ventriloquism. That was really cool. Ventriloquism was just a hidden part of it. That was quite cool. But yeah, TikTok's an interesting one.
If you were not a ventriloquist, what do you think you would be doing right now? Is it just so beyond the pale of imagination that you would do anything else?
I think I'd be trying stand-up comedy. I'd be doing comedy without puppets. If I wasn't performing, I'd probably be doing something, potentially teaching. I'd potentially be a teacher, yeah.
And of what subject or subjects, or just general teacher?
Maybe something in the performing arts, maybe something in English language. So I had a place at Leeds University to study linguistics because language fascinates me, and sounds, and obviously phonetics is very linked to ventriloquism, but the sort of putting together of language is very applicable to comedy as well. So I have a piqued interest in that with my sort of nerdy hobbies, but at the same time I think it's a very interesting subject and a very important subject as well. So I think teacher was definitely sort of in my head as a potential career path, and I think that could have been the route.
What is your most memorable experience, or maybe surprising experience so far, amongst the shows that you've done or places that you've performed?
There's been a lot.
Hard to choose, I know. Maybe just choose one of them, maybe that sort of stands out to you, that maybe it was a pivotal experience, or just surprising, or memorable in some way.
This year I compared one of the gala shows at Blackpool Magic Convention, which is the largest magic convention in the world.
Oh yes, I've heard of that.
And it was in the Opera House, the Blackpool Opera House, which is the widest stage in Europe, and there's thousands of people watching, and I'm stringing this show together, and it was a lot of pressure, and also people who are in industry or in an allied art, not necessarily the easiest audience to perform for. And for that to have gone well, and for me to have in the end enjoyed it, was huge for me, and it was a very, very special performance. I think generally one of the things that surprised me is, well, I suppose it's one, how often an audience's comment after the show would be, I've never seen a ventriloquist live. I think people know of ventriloquists and have massive preconceptions about what a ventriloquist is and what a ventriloquist does. And so it's really interesting that so many people are having first time seeing a ventriloquist live, and also and I think people surprise themselves with this. So it's an unexpected moment for me, but also for them, is how much they connect with the puppets. How much people will, by the end of a show, be very, very attached to and care about these characters that we've brought into a show. And I think other ventriloquists would be able to relate to that as well. And that speaks of a wider thing to me, which is, I think puppets are just incredible, and all of this stems from a love of puppets for me. And I think the power of puppets is just incredible. They can do what actors can't. They can do anything. They can do anything, and the connection they make, and that is seen time and time again when they're used in incredible theatre pieces like Warhorse, where these incredible lifelike horse puppets bring such emotional reactions from audiences, or even Sesame Street, where Sesame Street has touched the hearts of the entire world, it seems, and the good it's done in the world. And I think it just speaks for the connection that people can make with puppets and the power that puppets and puppetry can bring. So I think that's really, really special.
What is your dream gig or experience or venue? If at this point, of course, things may change, through the years for you. But right now, do you have a magic wand thing? What would you choose? A type of show to do, a place to perform, a venue, and anything like that?
I'm enjoying almost all of my gigs at the moment, and so there isn't one I'd sort of trump everything with. However, I'd say the most magical performance scenario is probably at Christmas when I do pantomime, which I know is a very, very British Christmas show where traditional stories, everything from Snow White to Aladdin, Sleeping Beauty, those sort of fairy tale type stories, are told in a very sort of certain and particular way.
That's a British tradition, I suppose, because actually I'm not familiar with. I know what pantomime is, but I think you're referring to a particular a tradition or something, right?
Yeah. So in the States, pantomime very much means man in a box.
Yeah, right.
Which we would call that mime. We would just call that mime. Pantomime here, or panto as we call it, is a Christmas show. You will have sort of stock characters in there in these shows, so that the dame is always included, which is a woman played by a man. The comic, which is the role I play. The principal boy, which is usually the male love interest. The principal girl, they usually fall in love. So these sort of stock characters in these well-known stories. So whilst they're well-known stories, they will be the panto version of these stories, so slightly unrecognizable to people who are only familiar with the more popularized or the Disney versions of these tales. But for me, they're so special because they are mostly my one chance a year to work with other people, my one chance a year to work with a cast on stage. And the casts are, they're amazing. They're talented other performers, musical theatre dancers, and often celebrities as well are brought in, and you have your big names starring in the pantos, which is really wonderful. Pantomime is very special because it's a lot of children's first experience of theatre, because it's such a family tradition. But I think the reason I would make it my dream performance scenario at the wave of a wand, which is very apt, would be that I don't think there's another feeling like making a room full of all age groups laugh. I think if you're hitting upon something that is funny across the board for everyone in that room, that isn't divisive and is just simply very, very funny, that is just the best feeling. It's so wonderful to watch like grandparents laughing with grandchildren at the same thing. It's just brilliant.
So that's the flip side of what you were talking about earlier about the advantage of the pro, pro and con. So the pro of the adult audiences, because you're less restricted in what you can say, but there's also this pro of the family audience, wide range, because that you're just alluding to now, which I feel also in my performing, that I love to be able to entertain a wide range at the same time and at different levels, so that's the positive in this sense that you've experienced in pantomime, right? In panto.
Yeah, absolutely. That's spot on. I think whilst you can have an absolutely raucous time playing for an adult audience and just the most incredible comedy moments, that I think and they can be magical too. There's just something very special about making a large age range and actually a large mix of people, a massive mix of, it brings people together. People will go and watch the pantomime at Christmas. It can be a lot of families' tradition. They will go and see it on a certain day. A lot of families go, we go to the panto on Boxing Day.
So that's gratifying in a special way, I imagine, right? One more question. Who would you love to meet most of all? Anyone from either living or dead, history or now? Do you have, if you had to choose, like someone who you would most love to meet? It could be a ventriloquist who may have inspired you, or it could be someone totally different.
I am going to say Terry Rogers.
Ventriloquist, British ventriloquist, yes?
Yeah. She was incredible, and I would have loved to have met her. She was a ventriloquist and magician as well, came up with a load of incredible magic tricks. And I think what she did in the time she did it was just extraordinary. To be able to play sort of quite difficult working men's clubs.
Yeah, I have to check her out more, because I saw a couple of clips of her a long time ago, but now that you've jogged my memory, she's definitely someone to
and there's so many legendary stories about her as well, in terms of, because she had this wonderful, gentle stage persona, and then a very sort of hard-nosed, foul-mouthed puppet. Men watching this in working men's club, there are stories about the puppet getting punched, and having to be taken back to makers to be repaired. So yeah, I think she's a real inspiration and a real idol of mine.
Max, it's been great to have you here today in this
Thank you for having me.
interview. And for all of you out there who enjoyed this interview, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done it already, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of uploads in this burgeoning series I have now, Talking It Out, where I have a lot of shows lined up with other fascinating guests. Make sure to check out Max's social media and follow Max. We will be posting your links under this video here, but maybe you can just briefly tell us just verbally what's the best way people to follow you.
Yes, absolutely. You can follow me on Facebook and TikTok at Max Fulham Comedy, and Twitter and Instagram at Max Fulham, or go to www.maxfulham.com. There we go. Very smooth.
Great. And don't fret if you weren't able to jog that down quickly, because look right under this video. I'll be posting those links for you. So thanks again, Max, for a wonderful time here, fascinating interview. And
thank you.
For all of you out there, see you soon.